Mr. Obernolte, you're up. You have one on consent, one due pass. What's your pleasure?
Mr. Chair, I'll be presenting AB 809.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, this morning I'm presenting AB 809. This is a simple, common sense measure involving transparency in ballot labeling. As I'm sure.
We have a motion from Bigelow, a second from Calderon. Witnesses in support. Witnesses in opposition.
We have David Wolf from the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association who would like to testify. In support, with your permission.
Yeah, a rare support bill, Mr. Chairman. It does happen. Mr. Chairman, members, David Wolf with the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. As the author said, simple transparency bill. Ask for your aye vote.
Thank you so much. Individuals from the public in support. Witnesses in opposition. Individuals from the public in opposition. Department of Finance.
No file.
No file. Questions or comments from the committee members? Would you like to close?
Just respectfully request your aye vote.
We have a motion and a second. This bill's out on an A roll call. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members.
Mr. Cooley? Okay. Mr. Cooley, you have a bill on suspense and one on consent. What's your pleasure?
I'm interested in just speaking briefly to AB 12.
Please proceed.
Very good. Colleagues, AB 12 is a bill I'd definitely like to see moving forward at a roll call. I think it's the most important bill in some respects for us this session. Looking at this committee, there's only 2 members of this committee that have ever dealt with an environment where revenues were lagging in the state of California. Our job will be greatly affected if we are not growing jobs in California to offset taxes when they go away. It's vital to the poverty rate issue in California, growing our private sector. It's vital to our college graduates, of which there are 7 cohorts since 2007 that have graduated without the sort of jobs with benefits we'd like to see. It's vital to single-parent households, et cetera, et cetera. AB 12 is a bill which I see as sort of a counterpart to the leadership our governor gave during his first term. In the 1970s, California was seen as having too much regulation, thicket government. Jerry Brown signed into law the Office of Administrative Law statute to provide a means of overseeing regulatory process. This bill is simply presents the question of, cannot we in the legislature present to the governor a bill that asks him before he is gone to once again initiate a top-to-bottom review of regulations for duplicative, inconsistent regulations. I sort of proceed with the belief that if we send on to Governor Brown a bill that commissions a top-to-bottom review of state regulations for the purpose of being done by January 1st of 1918, so in the 19 year, if there's any cleanup statutory work, we in the legislature can do it before the governor is gone. This would be national news. Every general counsel in America would be talking to their CEOs about this. I believe it is a sort of thing that would be copied in other states. It'd be Wall Street Journal sort of coverage, New York Times coverage, and goes to the question of our business environment. So I'm just bringing this forward as a bill that I think is good for the legislature, can help release the private sector energy that we need to grow jobs in California. And that's the essence of the bill. It was drafted with that time frame to get the review done, not under a stopwatch, several years to conduct a review top to bottom, and a year for the legislature to take any follow-up actions we want prior to the conclusion of the 18-19 legislative session. I request your aye vote. Thank you for the courtesy of presenting it.
Thank you, Mr. Cooley. As I mentioned, this bill's on suspense. Witnesses in support.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I think this past weekend is a gift to my wife. I undertook the project of drywalling the garage as preparation for us building out some storage. And I say that because every once in a while it's useful to go through all of the stuff that we've collected and clear out some things that are unnecessary, or maybe things we have duplicates of, or things that just don't make sense for us to have anymore. So in the spirit of that, I think this bill asks the state government to take a look at the regulations that have built up over time things that at the time they were passed and enacted made a whole lot of sense and addressed issues that were very real at the time. That's not to say that they were wrong or are wrong at this point, but maybe some of them are not necessary. Maybe some of them are even getting in the way. I think it's healthy for us to go through this process of doing that review to clean out some of the things that we no longer need so that we make room for the things that we do need, for the regulations that we will be adding in order to implement greenhouse gas reduction emissions, in order to implement regulations regarding the drought that is certainly hitting business across the board. So to the degree that we can make room for those without burdening business beyond what is absolutely necessary, give them the room to create the jobs that will help lift our economy, help lift our state budget, to higher levels, and to provide the services that we need. I think this is a good step forward. So we do request respectfully your consent to move the bill off of suspense at the appropriate time.
Thank you so much. Individuals from the public in support.
Yolanda Benson with the California Asian Pacific Chamber of Commerce, also in support.
Witnesses in opposition. Individuals from the public in opposition. Department of Finance.
No file, Mr. Chair.
No file. Questions or comments from the committee members? Mr. Gallagher.
Yeah, I just wanted Assembly Member Cooley, thank you for bringing this bill forward. I think it's something that's long overdue. Just as a quick side story, when I was a county supervisor, we actually had an issue that I think is right on point. We had some people who had property in the bypass of the floodway that every year they were clearing out the sand that silted up, during the flood season, and DWR was fully supportive of that, gave them permission to go forward and to continue doing that. Years later, Department of Mines came in and said, no, we need a permit for that. That's subject to our jurisdiction, and ended up taking legislation to fix that. Something that everybody was agreeable with as an acceptable practice to clear the floodway. So sometimes that happens because there's so many laws and regulations that build up over time that we have these conflicting agency rules. And so I appreciate you bringing this forward, and I think it's a good
And if
project.
I may, on that point, the bill contemplates that out of this sort of review process, a review would be provided to the legislature of all the statutory authority of each agency. So for chairs of our standing committees, you'd sort of have a one-spot view of all the law the agency sees themselves administering. This will strengthen us in our function of oversight, and I believe it will make us a stronger institution vis-a-vis the next governor. Because while we think about, I'm a 10-year member, you're a 12-year member, the real clock running on us actually is now the 3.5-year clock. Our governor is a very strong governor. He'll be a strong governor until the day he leaves, but in a year and a half he'll be a lame duck. And the real question is how do we as an institution fortify ourselves to be more an co-equal branch of government with the next governor, and I see this bill fitting in within that architecture.
Thank you so much. Mr. Court.
The witness in support at the table, you're representing?
My apologies. California Manufacturers and Technology Association.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good question. Ms. Eggman?
I'd just like to say, Mr. Cooley, I want to thank you for your thoughtful vision on this. I think this is one of those things that resonate with people both from a business perspective as well as a populist perspective. I mean, this is something that you can talk about in communities that everybody seems to really get, that we need to streamline what we do to make the business of California just run more efficiently. So I thank you for your thoughtful vision.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the committee members? Mr. Cooley, it is a thoughtful idea. If it passes, I have no idea what the legislature will actually do, but since most of the bills are cleanup bills. But it's on suspense. We're going to give it due consideration when we take up the suspense file.
I thank you for the opportunity to present it this morning. Thank you very much. Well done.
Mr. O'Donnell, you're up.
Mr. Chair, may I proceed?
Just a second. Just a second.
Okay.
Mr. O'Donnell, you have two bills on suspense and one on consent. What's your pleasure?
I'm sorry?
What's your pleasure?
AB 531.
Please proceed.
Thank you. Good morning, committee members.
That is on consent. You can present, and we can
this one
make
is
it a
on
due
consent?
pass if you like.
Hold on. I was told it was not on consent.
What's on?
Okay. The information my office received is that it was not on consent. But if you're telling me it's on consent, I can waive my presentation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ms. Burke, you're up. Ms. Burke, you have one bill on suspense, one due pass. What's your pleasure?
I'll waive my presentation on my suspense file candidate, AB 907.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. AB 1306 allows certified nurse midwives to manage a full range of primary health care services for women within their existing scope of practice. It does
Move
not.
the bill.
We have a motion and a second.
And
Ms.
I
Burke, please
request
proceed.
your aye vote.
Thank you so much. Witness and support.
Peter Kellison on behalf of the California Nurse Midwife Association. We're the sponsors of the bill. We want to appreciate or acknowledge the time and effort that has gone into this legislation with the author's office and with the medical community. We've spent upwards of 6 hours negotiating with them to date. We'll continue to do so as we try to resolve the final outstanding issues as this bill moves forward.
Thank you so much.
Pat Whalen, Ellison Wilson Advocacy, on behalf of the United Nurses Association of California, a proud member of AFSCME, also in support.
Thank you so much. Individuals from the public in support?
Yes, my name is Charles Griffiths. I'm a certified registered nurse anesthetist from the California Association of Nurse Anesthetists. We're in strong support of AB 1306.
Thank you so much.
Excuse my allergies. Julia Hassel, representing AARP, and our over 3 million members in California. We support this bill.
Thank you so much. Any other individuals from the public in support? Witnesses in opposition?
Mr. Chair, members, Juan Thomas, representing the California Medical Association. As previously mentioned, we are engaged in some very productive stakeholder meetings with the sponsor and the author, and we look forward to working with them as the bill moves forward.
Thank you so much. Department of Finance.
No file, Mr. Chair.
No questions or comments from the committee members? Ms. Burke, I know that you've been in negotiations on a few amendments that will be resolved as you move forward?
Yes.
Great. Would you like to close?
I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you so much. We have a motion and a second. This bill is due pass out on an A roll call with Bigelow, a Wagner, no. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Thurman, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr.
Members.
Thurman, your bill's on suspense. Please proceed.
It's a pleasure to present AB 1014. This bill would create a grant program that will provide funds to school districts to address one of the chronic issues facing our school districts, and that is chronic absenteeism of our very young kids in California, students who are in grades kindergarten through third grade. As you all know, third grade is the critical point for students to learn to read. Kids who don't learn to read by third grade often drop out of school and end up in the criminal justice system, costing us so much more money to incarcerate folks rather than the small amount of money we could spend to educate our kids and make sure that they learn. Sadly, most school districts just don't have the key ingredients needed to help keep kids in school, and that is outreach workers who can work with families to address the issues that are barriers to kids coming to school, such as homelessness, domestic abuse, violence, hunger, and ultimately poverty. This grant program would give school districts the resources they need to have the right outreach teams who can work directly with students and their families to get our students back in school. And that's why we would ask that this bill be supported and have the opportunity to move forward. We do have witnesses here today who can talk about their experiences with these programs. I'll give them a chance to introduce themselves and share their perspectives. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much. Your witnesses in support. I want to remind folks this bill is on suspense. Please proceed.
Good morning. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to speak on behalf of 1014. My name is Chris Stoner-Mertz. I'm the president and CEO of the Lincoln Child Center in Oakland. We have been providing a program very much like this bill describes for 4 years with great success. We have had 90% of the children we're working with improve their attendance. What we find is that reasons for the lack of attendance and this ongoing chronic absenteeism is almost always related to homelessness, lack of transportation, mental health and substance abuse issues, lack of stable employment, medical issues, or disconnection from schools. We feel it's critical to have these early supports to get children on track and into school. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members. Sally Espinoza from the Department of Justice. I'm happy to be here on behalf of the Attorney General as a sponsor of this legislation. And reducing chronic absence and truancy at California elementary schools has been a top priority for the department since Kamala Harris was elected Attorney General. In 2013, the Department of Justice released its first in-school and on-track report on the state of California's attendance crisis. This report revealed that more than 250,000 elementary school students in California were chronically absent, missing 10% or more of the school year. Further, approximately 1 million elementary school children in California were truant in the 2012-13 school year. This issue will be a continuing priority for the Attorney General's newly established Bureau of Children's Justice. And just last year, the Attorney General partnered with the legislature to bring attention to this significant issue and develop best practices for improving attendance in our schools. This bill would enable our public schools to develop attendance improvement programs tailored to the needs of their communities. It embraces a local control approach to chronic absence prevention and encourages local education agencies to prioritize pupil engagement in their efforts to expand and improve resources for students, especially at-risk students like foster youth, English learners, and low-income students. For all those reasons, we're in support of the bill.
Thank you so much. Any other individuals in support of the bill? Witnesses in opposition? Individuals from the public in opposition? Department of Finance?
No file, Mr. Chair.
Questions or comments from the committee members? Seeing none, Mr. Thurman, would you like to close?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would simply say that we are prepared to take on and work on amendments as it relates to cost. I would add this, though. This bill, unlike most that we will see this year in this legislature, actually has the opportunity to generate revenue from the investment that we make. By most accounts, a school district in Stockton or LA or Oakland, in an urban area or a rural area, a 1% increase in overall student attendance for most areas generates an additional $1 million of revenue that school district can use in their general fund to support any level of academic program. I would simply say that to you as you make your next steps moving forward and let you know that this author stands to work with you on any amendments that are recommended, and respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Thurman. As I mentioned, this bill is on suspense. We will take up this bill with due consideration when we take up the suspense file. Thank you so much, and thank you to the witnesses for being here.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Hernandez,
don't go there.
You have 3 bills on suspense and 1 due pass. What's your pleasure?
I am going to take up AB 622 only.
Excuse me?
I'll be taking up 622.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Mr. Chair, members, Assembly Bill 622 limits misuse of E-Verify by prohibiting employers from using E-Verify in a manner not prescribed by federal law and creates financial and civil penalties for employers who break the law.
We have a motion from Mr. Quirk, a second by Mr. Calderon. Witnesses in support.
All right. Please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Gina De Silva with the California Immigrant Policy Center. We're proud to co-sponsor AB 622 to address the specific misuses of the E-Verify program. Not only are the costs of this proposal minimal and absorbable, according to the department, but this legislation would also prevent potential loss resulting from loss in job productivity, workplace confusion, or lost wages that can result from the misuse of this E-Verify program. For these reasons, we urge your support of the bill.
Thank you so much. Any other witnesses in support? Individuals from the public in support. Witnesses in opposition. Individuals from the public in opposition. Department of Finance.
I would actually concur the Department of Industrial Relations anticipates minor and absorbable costs as a result of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Questions or comments from the committee members? Mr. Hernandez, I like your Mr. John Burton attire.
Hey, all about honoring our former leaders here.
Ms. Hernandez, would you like to close?
I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you so much. We have a motion and a second. This bill's out on a B-roll call.
Thank you kindly.
Mr. Wagner, would you like to present? Mr. Wagner, you have one bill. Two bills on suspense. What's your pleasure?
Yes, two. I've got one on suspense. I do want to present on the GPS bill, whose number now escapes me. Apologies.
1213.
Thank you very much. And I'll be brief because it is on suspense. I wanted to make sure the committee was aware that we've been working with the Governor's Office, Department of Finance. There's some indications that there is some support for this bill coming out of the Governor's Office for good reason. It's a good bill. Let me explain briefly what it does. What it does is establish a central database for those folks amongst us who are on ankle bracelets. They are supposed to be monitored. Currently, the monitoring is nowhere near as tight as it needs to be, and we found that out when a couple of these miscreants down in Orange County got together, and when they were done their crime spree, there were 5 dead women. The idea being that if this database had been in place at the time, there'd be more communication amongst the different law enforcement agencies, and if we might not have been able to prevent all 5 of the murders, we probably would have been able to prevent 2 or 3 of them when the pattern of these folks getting together was discovered. I'll give you a quick analogy. If you are driving on the Bay Bridge with one of those, or the Golden Gate Bridge with one of those fast track devices in your car, and if you're driving down in my neighborhood on the 241 with one of those fast track devices in your car, those are completely different billing agencies, but somehow the state, when it's collecting its tolls, is able to communicate amongst itself and get you one bill for all of those different transactions. Yet we can't do it with our law enforcement agencies when our folks who we are supposed to be monitoring are getting together. What the bill does, as I say, is provide a mechanism so that we have more communication amongst our law enforcement agencies. With that, there's a witness in support. Realizing it's a suspense item, I trust she will be briefer than I was.
Thank you so much. Please proceed.
Yes, very brief, Mr. Chair and members. Amy Jenkins with Platinum Advisors on behalf of Orange County Board of Supervisors. We are in strong support of this bill. We see this as the next evolution in GPS technology, and I think it will greatly enhance our efforts to identify crime scene correlation, enhance investigation efforts, and possibly serve as a deterrent. We want to thank the author for his leadership, and we urge your support when this bill is considered.
Thank you so much. Any other witnesses in support? Individuals from the public in support, witness in opposition, individuals from the public in opposition. Department of Finance.
No file, Mr. Chair.
Questions or comments from the committee members? Seeing none, Mr. Wagner, would you like to close?
Briefly, public safety is the one thing we all agree we are supposed to do and do well, as we are letting more and more people out of prison because of serious overcrowding problems. We owe it to our public. In the newspaper, one of the mothers of a crime victim in this spree that I was talking about and that prompted this bill said, "What are these bracelets for?" Well, we can answer that question today. It's to provide the tools necessary to prevent these types of crimes. When the bill comes off suspense, I urge your support of this common sense measure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members.
Mr. Wagner, thank you so much for bringing the bill forward. I had a good friend from high school who was murdered by somebody who was on parole, couldn't track him. So thank you for bringing this bill forward. We'll give it due consideration while it's on the suspense file. Thanks.
Understood. Thank you.
Mr. Williams, you have one bill on suspense. AB 1173 is a due pass recommendation. How would you like to proceed?
Mr. Chair, members, thank you for hearing this. This bill clarifies the statewide certification standards required for backflow prevention device testers. Specifically, this bill would require that if a local health officer does not maintain a program for certification of backflow prevention device testers, then the testing and maintenance of a backflow prevention device may be performed by someone with a California-specific certification.
Move the bill.
Costs
We have a
are-
motion and a
are
second.
minor.
Witnesses in support.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Justin Vanzel on behalf of the California State Pipe Trades Council. I'd like to thank the staff for their good analysis. As to point out, the bill is an opportunity to set a standard by either the local public health official or a standard that's available through the state. This does not preclude any other thing being approved, any other form of certification being approved. I'd also like to point out the opposition to the bill is named in the bill. The associations or the businesses that are currently the purveyors of the water systems participate along with our members, the state pipe trades folks who have from time immemorial done these inspections, who are now being forced out because one particular purveyor is on the board of one of the other associations named here. We all work together to make sure that these standards and certification standards are particular, unique, and for the public safety. And for these reasons, we ask for your support. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Your next witness.
Good morning. Tom Ansel on behalf of IAPMO. IAPMO is the publisher of the Uniform Plumbing Code and Mechanical Code, which by statute form the Plumbing and Mechanical Code in California. They also do testing. They also do training for ASSC certification for backflow prevention device testers. I'd like to note that in its analysis of the fiscal effect of the bill, they only talk about the potential cost for reevaluating these entities if there are any changes. The technology for the backflow prevention devices aren't changing rapidly, so that shouldn't be a big cost. But in the long run, this is really going to be a cost saver. Under the current regime, each individual public health agency is responsible for doing their own evaluation, and this is repetitive, not inefficient, costly to the local agencies, and is resulting in inconsistent standards throughout the state. And that's what we're trying to address here, is to actually save the state money and have consistency. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any other individuals from the public in support? Witnesses in opposition? Individuals from the public in opposition? Department of Finance?
No file, Mr. Chair.
No questions or comments from the committee members? Mr. Williams, would you like to close?
Just ask for your aye vote.
Thank you so much, Mr. Williams. We have a due pass motion, a second, and this bill is out on a B roll call. Chang, aye. Gallagher, not voting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Lowe, you have two bills on consent, two with due pass recommendations. What's your pleasure?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Assembly Bill 1050.
Please proceed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair and members. Assembly Bill 1050 would require nonprofit organizations to participating in our state's Our Promise California State Employees Giving at Work campaign to submit its non-discrimination policy. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
We have a motion and a second. Witnesses in support.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Very briefly, Joe Michael for
Equality California, we're proud to sponsor this bill. We thank the committee for the great analysis and agree that the costs would be very minor to implement this and well worth it to ensure that organizations that discriminate are not benefiting from a state-run program. We respectfully urge your aye vote. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any other witnesses in support? Individuals from the public in support, witnesses in opposition, individuals from the public in opposition, Department of Finance?
No file, Mr. Chair.
Questions or comments from the committee members? Seeing none, Mr. Lowe, would you like to close on this bill?
I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you so much. We have a motion and a second. This bill is out on a B roll call with Chang and I. Thank you. Next bill.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair and members. Assembly Bill 1100 will adjust the filing fee that is paid to the Attorney General when a proponent submits a ballot initiative proposal referendum from $200 to $8,000. I respectfully ask for aye vote.
We have a motion and a second on this bill. Witnesses in support, individuals from the public in support, witnesses in opposition, individuals from the public in opposition, Department of Finance.
No file, Mr. Chair.
No file. Questions or comments from the committee members? Seeing none, Mr. Lowe.
I respectfully ask for aye vote.
Thank you so much. We have a motion and a second. This bill is out on a B roll call.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.